Chris Tabb, what's up, man?
Oh, good, thanks. How are you, Joe?
Good, good. Yeah, so we were just hanging out at my house for almost a week now, so it's been really cool. Chris Tabb's our new roommate.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like part of the family now.
oh yeah, you are. Yeah, my kids call you the British guy. So,
I've been called worse.
and he probably been called better too. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Yeah, so I think it's been fun hanging out. We've been tossing around a lot of ideas, especially around data monetization. It's something that hasn't been on my mind, but I know it's something that's been on yours. What's up with data monetization?
Well, apart from there's two spellings of it, which obviously creates another.
What are the two spellings?
Oh, you got the Z and the S. So as Brits call it monetization with an S, and the Americans call it monetization with a Z. But the same, they mean the same thing. And there's so many different views of actually what that means to different people, and that can vary from just selling your raw data to something I think is more advanced of actually building a product or an algorithm which adds value, which at a business level is monetizing it or providing your company with a USP. So there's a whole big spectrum between the two. I'm trying to navigate the path of understanding the business value channels in an organisation and how you can attribute that to data monetization.
Interesting. Why does all this matter?
I think personally, I want the data world or data projects to get more recognition for the value they add. Mm-hmm. And being around for quite a while, I've seen a lot of data projects fail. We've had a lot of hype cycles with different methodologies, different technologies. And with all of that, many projects haven't delivered or been able to evidence the value that they provided. But that's tarnished, I think, a lot of the good things that have happened out there. And it's prevented the value that they provided to an organisation being reinvested to add more value, more business value. And I think the thoughts I've gotten, we've been talking about how we're going to get this into a book, is how you can help companies really understand what data monetization is, what the route to get to that is, and like in your book, you refer to the undercurrents. So, what are the undercurrents of that journey? And what's the right way of doing it? I did a post the other day about levelling up. And levelling up, I like from the gaming terminology.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're playing whatever game, you level up either different levels, or you level up your player, your environment to give you the competitive edge. And that's the same in business. It's the same with your data team. I think it's the same with your data platform. Is what's the right time to level up? And what's the order in which to do that levelling up? And if you get that right, and you also link the value that you're providing from doing that to the data community, to the organisation, to the platform, the overall operational platform, what value you're providing to that, I think the more recognition will be given to the data departments, data community. And there may be more funding that can be put back in because you've been able to evidence the associated value that you provided.
What is value?
So, I think I've been defining some different value channels at the moment, and this is still work in progress, but I think of value can be seen in different ways by different people in an organisation. And I'd always like to link that back to maybe a company strategy or a statement if they're floated of what the shareholders what the plan is, and the shareholder statement that's been made of the objectives of the organisation. So if you could link back any activities or projects, events, initiatives that may be happening in your organisation which link back to that, that's adding the value, because that's the company strategy. How you quantify those different the value they each provide is much more of a challenge. And sometimes it's very easy, clear cut. If you've created a data product, and a data product, we can go into what I think what makes that. But if it's something you're selling as a service, something you're selling as a product that someone subscribes to, or even purchases as a data set that's being curated by you, and they pay real money for it. It's very easy to see. Okay, right, there is a business value from a profit line, where you from a sales income line. Where it becomes more abstract and go to the far side would be in brand. What's the value of a company brand, and how much spend is attributed to that. Then you go to the far scales of like companies like Coca-Cola or Pepsi. The brand is, all of the marketing is associated to the brand. The brand is the value. So any of the spend of that is attributed to their company value. You go on to the other end of the spectrum where it's not, the brand is important, but it's not the core product. And then that's quite hard to evidence. It's not impossible, and this is things I'm working on of trying to show the path to be able to evidence those things. Value could even be company retention. You're keeping the right staff as well. So I think that comes onto a whole layer of what KPIs or metrics can you attribute to each of these value channels that that then can be measured, so you can actually say, okay, this is the business value that we provided. And I think the other area is optimization. And I always like to use the example of supply chain management. So you invest in a very large SAP system, for example. It costs you quite a few million in licenses, but it also costs you a lot in setup cost and consultancy and integrations that need to be built. All that work is normally a very large transformation, and that will become an asset of the business and be deemed as capital expenditure. And I'm not a qualified accountant. These things that we'll be looking at, and anyone out there that has views on this, I would love to hear from you. How that can be put as capex, but then after that, the associated pipeline that you may build to go and get the planograms from the location of the warehouse, the planograms from the location of the shop store, the path that the distribution needs to go to deliver the supplies, and the order in which those pallets are loaded on, and then the order in which those pallets are taken off. The ultimate game is to reduce your largest overhead, which is people cost.
Yeah.
And if you can then reduce the amount of time an individual needs to spend restocking a shelf, you've saved money. And the special source algorithm that's been built on top of that data pipeline, on top of that data quality checked data, on top of that governance process, on top of the security process that's put it in place for whatever information that was sensitive. And then the algorithm that's done the optimization of the route that needs to be done over the default way that maybe SAP would have done it as a default installation. You've just added a lot of value because you've just saved your operational costs of X amount a year. I think if you're able to evidence that by linking it via a business service, linking it by a data model or a map of where that business service is linking into your operational system. You evidence that. I'm sure, maybe an accountant's view on this is that could be seen as an asset on your books, your USP. What makes you different? I mean, Ocado is a very large in the UK door-to-door food distribution. So similar to Amazon Fresh or equivalent here. But it's all based on logistics of, and their route of making money is, minimising the overhead cost of packing up all of the correct produce at the right time while it's in date, aligned to what company the customer requests. That's their special sauce, and that's all been done with data and data science and algorithms that have calculated that. So I think the more we can do to help companies understand what business value is, understand how that links to monetization, how then they can express that to the board and the data community, that everyone's working towards that common goal, which is to make the company more profitable, so everyone gets their bonuses, everyone's securing their roles, their jobs. The more we can evidence that, the more innovation that can be funded by that revenue saving or generation, cost saving or revenue generation, to go and make your company more cost effective and data driven and give you the competitive advantage. And we talked about the market at the moment, and this is a time for companies to look to optimize while money's expensive to raise now, and everyone's focusing on profit now. Get the competitive edge now using your data, and look to where you can monetize and understand what monetize really means.
It's interesting, I feel like I've worked in many types of business units over the years, supply chain being one of them. And it's interesting there because I feel like a lot of the costing is pretty well figured out. Accountants, and supply chain teams have, I think done a good job at doing, being able to attribute costs, for example, right? And I used to do a lot of forecasting and inventory optimization and logistics and that kind of stuff. But so with all that stuff, I would say it's interesting because using data for those types of problems are just sort of part of the job. It wasn't like there was a separate data function back in the day. I feel like the disconnect right now is we kind of put data off on its own, when really it's always been embedded. And I don't know what the disconnect is, because like I said, back in the day, I was able to do ABC costing and really understand, how my efforts were impacting the bottom line, and on a product by product basis. And so that's what I find really interesting, is like, why is it as a field, as a data profession, that we, this, because monetization, adding value, these are always topics of discussion, to the point where I kind of, joked on LinkedIn the other day, or quipped, it's just like, over the next 5, somebody asked, I had this post basically that was, talked about how data science was the sexiest job in 2012. And now, my personal view of data science is I've not really seen a lot of real value being delivered, apart from anything that has existed before. Right. And so what I often see is a lot of people obsess over data, but often at the expense of the larger question of just like, how does this impact the business? So
I think, you're right. And I attribute it to the disconnect is that data warehousing, big data applications, even the modern data stack until more recently, was seen as a downstream part of the business. So your operational systems did all that, and everyone understood the operational impact because it was all intraday happening there and then. And I think the feedback loop that's happened now, where the big data platform and the data warehouses weren't DR, they weren't mission critical, or in many organisations, and they didn't have that governed feedback loop back into your operational systems. And I think that's changed now. I mean, we joked around about reverse ETL many times in the past, and different names of it, but that's created that feedback loop into the operational world. So a lot of what was seen to be downstream analytics and detached from the operation of the business has now become a key part of operations in a business. But I don't think that's evident. Well, it's been easy to evidence up until now of the value it's had, and I think some companies obviously have nailed it. I don't think everyone has. I think the purpose of this, thinking around this at the moment, is to try and work out how we can provide companies a blueprinted, evidenced way of showing the value that the data projects are having.
It definitely seems like, I would say, like, definitely go talk to accountants probably who, especially those who specialize in ABC costing, for activity-based costing is what that stands for. That's, then because a lot of it does come back to how, the accountants and the finance team is going to recognize, various aspects of revenue and expense.
Yeah.
right? And then you bring up assets, and it's like, well, okay, great. So how am I going to recognize this? I mean, typically an intangible asset is, often on the books is a goodwill, right?
Yep,
And so
yep.
that's, that's things like IP and brand and all the fuzzy stuff, right? And so it is interesting, but I think a lot of it does come back to just how granular the accountants
Yep.
want to be in the first place. And so maybe having them understand the potential of using data is probably a really key part here.
Yeah, I think there's a. It's not all about the balance sheet to some degree. I think it's about raising the profile within organisations and evidencing that, so it's easier to get funding. The accountancy part that will follow soon. The rules will adapt with the more evidencing that's there, and the easier it is with the accountants understanding.
But you got to have a way of tracking it, though, right?
Yeah, well,
so that's the thing.
That's
Yeah.
and that I think that's the key thing is part of this thinking is how you can do a blueprinted approach to evidencing. I think I refer to it in some thoughts of that mode 1 to mode 2. Mode 1 being the wrangling, the discovery part. Mode 2 being it productionized and linked to business services. Mm-hmm. And I think you've had some Vinay of I think one of your guys that was on one of your shows. Vijay, yeah. And how he talked about linking data models and business data models,
business process modeling, as we call it.
Yeah. So the more that is linked to where the processes are happening down on our modern data stack, our data platform, whatever we want to call it, it is evidencing how that is part or intrinsic to your business service, and that business service is much easier to attribute to a cost center or a revenue line or a cost center line, but it's linked to a business unit. So there's much more evidencing of traceability of where that where the costs and benefits have actually have come from.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, I think it's a good approach. I mean, I definitely am excited to kind of see where this goes for a lot of reasons. It just I am so tired of the mantra that we need to deliver more value, because I was talking with Scott Taylor about this the other week on my podcast, but the Monday Morning Data Chat. But he brings up a good point. Does your accountant ever tell you how much value they're adding?
Yeah.
Does your I mean, it's just the guy who drives a forklift, is he screaming from the forklift about how much value he's adding? No, I mean, if you don't have him, I think it's pretty clear what happens, right? So, but as a data profession, it's just one of those things where I just hope we can get off our soapbox about adding value and just actually start adding value instead of talking about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But you can't hit what you can't see,
No.
right? So you got to be able to measure it.
And it's another one of those buzzwords that's just thrown around as well, value unless people can actually. I like the forklift truck sort of analogy as well, and I called up with Scott as well the other day on a call, and he was saying that no one understands what data monetization is, and I think that that showed that there is a need to provide that knowledge into the industry of what it means, make it less of a buzzword, make it more of a known entity or a known quantified piece. I mean, exactly what you did back in the when.
We didn't even know you were doing it, though. You're just doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so just because the CEO's like, I need to understand what my investments are and what I'm getting out of it, right? And so it's like, okay, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. So me and my friend, back in the day, a coworker, we put all this together for him, and that was pretty cool, right? We could distribute all the costs down to stuff like packing tape. That's how granular we got. Like, how much tape are you using on each box you're shipping out? Like, that cost. So if we can get that granular, but it provided a really good picture of the business. I was actually talking. It's interesting too, because I think there's two aspects of monetization of data. So I was talking with a group of friends. The other day. So I would say some pretty popular people in the industry, if you know who they were. But we were talking about the notion of data monetization, and the thing that came up really is there's maybe two aspects of it. There's the external monetization, where you're actually selling data to customers, and that's what some companies do. But then there's the internal monetization of data as well, which is a separate thread, and these are often not the same thing. Yeah,
and they just get put into the same category or bracket, and it creates confusion. I think that's where I was using the term business value channels. And
Jesus.
so if or monetization channels. So if you understand what each of them are, and you can understand. Okay, when you talk about data monetization, what sort of data monetization are you talking about? Is it just selling of raw data? Is it selling an answer? Is it selling some insight? Is it selling some competitive advantage? Or is it an optimization? Is it creating cost efficiency? And if you understand the different categories of these, then okay, when someone asks you, okay, we're going to monetize it. Yeah, what do you mean? Which one? And having a clear understanding of which one you're referring to, because each one will need a different thing. They'll need I think I coined the thing, a modern data monetization platform. But I don't know if we needed to go as far as that. But having what capabilities, and rather than actually create a new name for modern data platform, it's just understanding what are those capabilities that make a modern data platform, and it's not technology led; it's a capability led piece. What's needed to achieve that monetization business value channel?
Yeah.
And if you're able to work that out, and then defining your company strategy or business strategy or data strategy becomes much easier, because I now need to do these things in this order to achieve this business monetization, business value monetization channel. Mm-hmm. So I think that there has been a big shift. I think I did a post the other night about the data community is more focused on value. I think now the vendor-led discussions about just doing one part of the business problem has changed, and I think having looking at what combination of things you need to achieve that objective is the lens that is started to come out, and I think something we've been championing for a while.
For sure. So to be clear, like adding value isn't just hiring a bunch of data scientists to produce models on their notebooks, right?
No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's been kind of the misnomer too. Is and the things that I've been calling out too on social media is that I think we put a lot of effort into things, and I think there's a lot of chasing of kind of the hotness, like data science, for example, right? But I think the results have been maybe a bit harder to discern. Not to say it won't add value at some point. I think it more represents kind of the field is incredibly immature.
Yeah, so I think it's what return on investment you get. With that other term that get battered around, ROI. You want to get your best bang for your buck from your data engineering team, from the software you buy, from the time your exec team are talking. Everyone's time costs money, and if you're not, I use the term delivery friction is another one. Friction being combined time, effort, and complexity to perform something.
Yeah.
And and that just applies to any part of an organisation. And the more you can reduce that delivery friction of creating a monetization channel or business value channel, the more value you're providing for that investment. Taking it into the software way of monitoring how much is used. Everyone wants to look at ARR, I think is the term.
Yeah.
So you're looking at that metric of increasing usage from one year on another, and I think the same sort of metric or lens is applicable to the value of your team you're hiring or the software you're using. What ARR are they providing on your organisation? Which is an interesting point. I'm going to make a note of in a minute.
Yeah. Right. Well, this has been an exciting book. I hope you decide to do it. I think I'll definitely be willing to review it and give it my 2 cents, no pun intended. So. Yeah, it should be fun.
You got no choice, really. I've already started asking stuff anyway. So.
Yeah, we've been working on this idea of my house for the past several days now. It's fun. I mean, you've been doing the same with my new book too, and it's just good to have a sounding board. So
yeah. Well, yeah.
Wish more roommates were like this.
Exactly. A good reason. Well, good reason to have discussions with a few beers, maybe occasionally.
A few being quite a few. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
So what about the data modeling thing? Is that your? I think because that's actually what I refer to as one of the undercurrents of data monetization. So.
Yeah, I mean it's a good book. I think I've thought through the structure of it enough. I spent a lot more time front loading the research than I thought I would, but research including talking to a lot of people and lots of interviews and just lots of reading as well. So, but
Yeah, no, what I've seen so far, it looks pretty good. I'm very interested as well.
Yeah, same. So that'll be coming out hopefully this summer. But yeah, I'll, I might start releasing some chapters on Substack soon. So stay tuned on that. Because I definitely wanted to have a public view as well. The worst thing when you're trying to write a book is just internalizing a lot of your ideas and not communicating them and not. I mean, everyone's, some people push back and say, oh, people are going to steal your ideas, and it's like, yeah, I don't think people are going to steal ideas. Ideas are cheap.
Execution's the key.
That's how it is, and plus you want people to be able to push on your ideas, right? That's what makes them better. So if you're hoarding your ideas, and I think you're gonna have pretty subpar ideas. So
No, I totally agree.
life of the big city. Cool. I know you got to go catch your flight right now. I got to give you a ride to the airport. But yeah, thanks for being on the new podcast. So
cool.
For the audience,
this is the first one.
This will be. I think this will be the first or the second. So I might do a quick monologue, just sort of introduce it, but then pop this one out. Yeah.
Well, I mean the top two at least. Anyway,
the top two, yeah. No, the Monday morning data chat's oversubscribed. Like we're booked all the way out to July now, and I feel like I just. And I also feel like because I'm writing a book, I don't want to. I'll write articles still, but I feel like any time spending writing an article is time not spent on the book, and those keystrokes need to be reserved for the book if possible. So a podcast is a way to just sit here and rant and shout to the sky for a period of time and
best ROI,
something like that. We'll find out. Have people find it valuable. So, right on, man. Well, we'll talk soon. So,
yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, see you.